Once again, I want to welcome everyone to another edition of Real Estate Insights. I am Oyedare Timothy and I will be taking us through this wonderful topic, sustainability and green building in real estate, with the sub-theme, building smarter, greener, and more profitable developments. So, first here, I have an opening quote which says, great developments do not only create buildings, they create better futures. I will take that again, sorry. Great developments do not only create buildings, they create better futures. And this is just like the whole essence of sustainable development. It's about making the building that we have presently very good, while at the same time, we are thinking about the future generations yet to come. So that's just the basic message sustainability is talking about. And this has shown to us in this opening code that has been read out. Defining sustainability and green building. I have here that sustainability in real estate means designing, building, and managing homes, offices, and communities in a way that protects the environment, saves resources, and remains useful for people over a long time and even to the next generation. And Adbond is a company that always talks about next generation, next generation, next generation. So that means that we can't but hold on the highest sustainability practices in our development project. And God helping us, we are also looking into it and we are also incorporating it in the project that we have now. And I'm very sure we are not going back on this. So sustainability is just very important for us presently and for the future generations that are coming. So in simple terms, it is about creating buildings and environments that firstly uses less electricity and water, that produces less pollution, stay comfortable and healthy for people, and also do not harm future generations, which is the next generation, next gen. So I'll be moving to the next slide, which is talking about green building. Green building is just like a subset of sustainable development. It is just one of many aspects of sustainable development that we have. So a green building is a building designed to save resources, protect the environment, and improve people's quality of life. This is typically a building that uses solar energy, has many windows for lighting and ventilation, collects rainwater, and has trees around it to keep the place cool. So this is just like an overview of what a green building is all about. It is not just a building that, like most that we have now, there has been different trends about people calling out architects that why will you have this kind of big space with tiny windows? Why will you have this kind of space with this kind of windows? Things like that. But what is green building in sustainability talking about? We have enough windows that promotes natural ventilation and lighting into our building. We have buildings that uses alternative energy source other than the national grid that rises and falls every now and then, which is basically through solar that is readily available for people to use. And what does green building also try to advocate for? Trees around that keep it cool. Unfortunately, we tend to downplay the importance of trees in our buildings, around our buildings and the environment. But green building is trying to advocate that trees are also important elements of a physical environment that we just have to protect, and where we don't have it, we have to incorporate them into building. So this is what green building is talking about. So I have here a representation of smart sustainable estates and green building here. I have some letterings here. I will try to read them out for you guys to follow me. So we have, for sustainable estates, we have solar energy, rainwater harvesting, energy sufficient buildings, waste management, smart street lighting, EV charging stations, walkable and bike friendly, permeable pavings, green open spaces. And all this is just for resource efficiency, cost effectiveness, climate resiliency, better quality of life, and future ready investments. And I also have here that building communities today that thrive tomorrow. So what this is trying to say is, when we are talking about sustainable development, what are the elements of sustainable development that we should look out for in different development projects? And when we are talking to people about sustainability, we are real estate companies and we should be able to advocate the future trend of human development in terms of building of cities. So what are the things that we need to incorporate into our projects, and we have to even preach to our villa owners out there? Number one is solar energy. The cost of electricity is very high. That's undebatable. The cost is high, and even when the cost is high, it is not as frequent as we also want it to be. But sustainable development is saying, now let us have other sources of energy that is renewable, that is less costly, aside for the cost that you incur in making it available for yourself. Maintenance is almost minimal and all that sort of thing. So solar energy is one of the solutions that sustainable development has proffered onto us, and thank God we are also embracing that in a lot of homes and office buildings in Nigeria, and it's something that is worthwhile. So rain harvesting is another thing. Although rain harvesting has been in existence before now, I remember growing up, when rain is falling, we put bucket outside to get rainwater, get it stored, and for a pretty long period of time, once you can store it very well. So this is what rainwater harvesting is all about, primitively. Let me just put it that way. Though there is a bigger aspect of rainwater harvesting that involves collecting of rainwater even from pavements and all of that. That involves high level of technology and all, but primitively, we can also do within our homes rainwater harvesting. There are some basic things that we do at home, probably washing of cars, that doesn't actually need very much of clean water to do. But rainwater is actually one of the purest form of water. I hope you know that. So we can gather rainwater and just use it for those kind of chores within the house, probably wash our cars, flush the toilet, things like that. Another thing is energy efficient buildings. And how do we promote energy efficient buildings? Number one is through our ventilation system. And how do we do this? Through our windows. Have wide enough windows that can bring in natural air into the building. Have large enough windows that can throw light into your building. So these are what energy efficient buildings are talking about. Another thing is waste management. This is another part that Africa we are keeping up. I won't say we are lagging behind, but we are trying to keep up with our new waste management practices. How we sort our waste, how we recycle the ones that we can recycle, how we reuse the one that we can reuse. So that is what sustainable practices is talking about. Smart street lighting. Although we have street lights all around, but the street lights also could be smart. And how do I mean smart? It is, we can use a street light that has motion sensors that once you are getting near to the point where you have the street light, it brightens up, and when it's not sensing any motion, it dims, kind of. So another thing is EV charging stations. Through the advancement in technology of electric cars, so we also have to incorporate this into our projects moving forward. Another thing is walkable and bike friendly. Well, Nigeria is also, we are trying to keep up with it. Our environment shouldn't be just basically the use of cars. Cars is not, we don't, short distance, we are carrying our car, firing our engines up and down, but what sustainable approach is trying to advocate is, let us make our streets walkable. And how do we make our streets walkable? By having green spaces like trees that shades us during hot weather. Unlike most of the development that we have around estates now, you have very tiny walkways that two people cannot just walk conveniently on those walkways. So sustainable estate design is talking about having a wide enough walkways for people to go, and also permeable surfaces that reduces the amount of runoff that we have. Another thing is permeable paving. We've mentioned that, and green open spaces. Have trees and green spaces within your property. So another thing is the green building that we're talking about. And what are the elements of green building? We already have them here. We have green roofs, not a roof that is painted green actually. All right, so what green roof is basically talking about is having surfaces that gives life. And how do I mean? You can have plants on your roof. You can install terraces that have plants, and you can actually change your surfaces to solar panels that could charge your homes and power your homes. So that's what green roof technically is talking about. We can have vertical gardens, as we've seen here, natural ventilation, daylight optimization. That is, light can easily get into your apartment and you don't actually need too much of light during the day. So another thing is biophilic design. What biophilic design is talking about is incorporating nature into our living spaces. Just like we have around here, we have that's snake plants, and we have plants within the living space. It's not just about furnitures and humans. It is about bringing nature into the human space. So I have here that green buildings don't just look good. They feel good, perform better, and last longer. So why developers can no longer ignore sustainability? Although this is a new trend in development, but with what we are having in our present world today, the heat is everywhere, a lot of things is going on. So sustainability is an answer to a lot of questions that we could ask ourselves and the environment generally. So sustainability is no longer a luxury. It's no longer a luxury feature. It's becoming a necessity. So we can have this representation here. We have estate A here. We have estate B here. I know if we are to ask a good number of us, in fact, all of us that are present here, that you should choose you are to build a house into either of these estates. Which one would you go for? I know obviously we are going to take estate B. Although these are all on the land, they have drainage which is poor. They have to burn much of fuel. A lot of issues with estate A because they didn't actually take into consideration sustainable design approaches. And when we check estate B here, we have a very wide walkway that you can easily just tell your little child to just go about without fearing too much of vehicular movement. We have solar supported infrastructure, flood resilient planning, workable environments, and green recreational places. As you can see, just in front of the house, we have green spaces that you can just come out and chill in the evening. So to the next, sustainable estates infrastructure. This is one of the key things that we are doing here. So we have first here that drainage system. If you want to know a failed planning, drainage is one of the things. What they experience after an heavy rainfall is one of the things that indicates improper planning or poor planning, because small rain everywhere is flooded. That's what not to be. So sustainable estate infrastructure should always take this into consideration. And how do they do this? We have sustainable drainage systems, permeable pavings, and flood mitigation infrastructure. This, if we are to go deeper into this, it is more of engineering than this. So, but I will try to break it down. And what do we mean by sustainable drainage system? It is such that you don't allow every water that touches the earth to just run off. You can collect some through water retention pools. You can collect some through the rainwater gardens and all. So it is not just that every water that drops on the ground, it should not just run off like that. That's a very bad planning. So another thing is permeable paving. And what does this mean? A paving that it is such that water can seep into the soil. When water seeps into the soil after rainfall, we can see that the amount of runoff that we are going to have will be very minimal, and our drainage system can be able to control that. Another thing is flood mitigation infrastructure. There are a lot of flood mitigation infrastructure, just like I said. The rain gardens is one of them, and the retention pool is one of them. Another thing that we are talking about, sustainable estate infrastructure, is the roads and mobility. Like we said earlier, pedestrian walkways, are they wide enough? Are they safe to walk at night? You can see that a lot of walkways, once it gets dark, everywhere is, because there is no lighting system on the way, it gets dark and all. So another thing is bicycle lanes. We don't need to go with cars every time. At points in time, we should be able to get our bicycle and move from one place to the other. Another thing is utilities. This is very important for our living space. Meter system for water distribution, a meter system for light. That's very important. Another thing is waste management, recycling facilities. Like I said, it doesn't have to be in a very big form. It can be basically you have a space separately for disposing your paper waste. You can have a space differently for disposing your glass waste and all, so that it can be separated. Your waste has to be separated. It's not like you carry paper with glass with everything and muddle it up within just a waste bin. No, it's wrong. Sustainable estate development is talking about you must separate your waste from the source. Have your papers differently, because you discover that a lot of them can actually be reused. A lot of them can actually be recycled. So your plastic should be different from where you are putting your paper waste and all. So we also have an image representation of some of these things. We have a permeable paving, we have a rain garden along the road, we have a cycle lane, stormwater management, EV stations and all. These are just what sustainable estate infrastructure is talking about. So now we want to tailor it back to individuals. So now I have here that sustainable living, what to do differently. So I just thought that, okay, now we are talking about real estate, we can be looking at, no, I just want to have my bungalow, I want to have my duplex. Presently, I don't have a bungalow, I don't have a duplex. What I have is just a room. So what can we do differently that further pushes sustainable approaches? So I have here that sustainable habits multiplied across thousands of homes can transform the entire cities. What do I mean? If I am doing sustainable approaches towards my activities within the home, if every one of us is incorporating that into our daily activities, we can see that Nigeria would actually feel the impact, although it might be small, but a small good thing is better than an huge bad thing. I hope you get that I'm trying to say. So these habits include maximize natural ventilation. Although this might not be from our own end, because a lot of developers have actually had their windows, they've had a lot of things within the building, but how can we also do this? When you have your windows, try to open them when the weather is cool, in the morning and late in the evening. You shouldn't just lock yourself up, box yourself up within your room. So open windows strategically for cross ventilation. I have that here. Avoid blocking airflow with large furniture. So, and one thing about sustainability that we should we cannot just but talk about is hire the right professionals. We can see that Ms. Oluwagbemi can testify to that. She's an interior designer. So when you get to some kind of rooms, you have their windows, but you discover that the best place that you can place your bed, like your furniture, is just to block that window that is available. Because this is part of what the architect or the architect basically should have put into consideration right from time. So once you block that window that you should serve your ventilation or your natural lighting, so what do we have? You just have to be looking for alternative sources of keeping your rooms cool and keeping it lighted up. So it should be such that your furniture shouldn't block the path of light or air into your building. So use breathable curtains instead of heavy blackout materials during the day. You just find it very funny when you get to some kind of spaces with the kind of curtain that they are using. You think it's just these Roman people that has very thick textile. It's wrong. Find something that is light, that even if you drop your curtain, air can still just flow into your room. So when you do this, you will discover that you will not actually need too much of fans to get your room cooled. And by that, if you are not consuming much electricity, you are paying less, right? So that's one part of it. Another thing is reduce daytime electricity use. Though we are all guilty of this, even during the day when we have dark spaces, you just have to get the lights on, even during the day. So these are some of the things that we can do differently. During the day, we can just allow natural light to get into the room, because it's actually very good for us. Everything shouldn't just be, let me put on the light, let me put on the light. Let's do this differently. In our spaces, let's just try to have natural lighting coming into our space. So another thing we have is rearrange furniture close to windows. It is just very important. You don't just, because of this, you just carry your chair far away from the window so that light and air can just easily touch you and you won't be needing too much of fans and the likes. So I also have here that replace bulbs with LED lights. LED lights are less energy consuming and they release less heat compared to bulbs. So if you use LED lights, you are consuming less energy and you are releasing less heat into the environment. Another thing is turn off appliances when not in use. A lot of times we just put on our freezer, the freezer that is already frozen, and you just keep it on. I don't know, but at some point in time, just try to turn off appliances that are not in use. It is very important to do that. So the next one is introduce indoor plants. introduce indoor plants. You can also walk up to me, Zuluagbemiga. I want to have, can you just give me kind of plants? Though I have some examples here. We have snake plants. That is very good within your bedroom because it releases oxygen into the space. You have aloe vera. Even in your bathroom, there are plants that you can boost that absorb moisture. All of those kind of things. Walk up to an interior designer, give me inspiration, but you have to pay actually. So they just give you inspiration on how to make your spaces better with plants. Everything is not just about walls, it's not just about claddings and all, it's not just about everything. There are plants that can improve the feel of your spaces. This is on a very small scale. Like I said, a small change can bring about a lot of impact. Another thing that can also affect is the kind of paint that you use for your spaces. The kind of paint. There's properties each kind of paint exhibits. If you want a very lighted space, how can you go about this with the use of your paint and all? So walk up to a professional and let them advise you on how to go about that. Another thing is reduce heat gain naturally. One of the mistakes we make most times is, I'll just share a practical example with you. Most times, you notice that room self-cons, mini flat, the bedroom is one side and the kitchen is on another side. The mistake we make most times is we kind of place your cooking stove, your cooking ware to the wall that is directly behind your room. So when you do this, the heat from the cooker and what you are doing can easily transmit to the wall and get into your room. So it is better to use the opposite side of the wall. That's a pro tip. All right, so these are some of the things that we can actually do to just reduce the heat in our rooms and reduce the time of putting on the fan or other form of energy. So we just have to reduce heat gain naturally. So we can use light colored curtains and interior finishes. Like I said, the kind of curtain you use and the material it is made of is very important within our living spaces. Also, we can add shadings with curtains or blinds. Window blinds is a very good material for your windows because you can, based on how you want to control the amount of air that is coming into your room, you can easily adjust it. So it's very good for us. Another is keep your windows opened. Enjoy the beauty of nature. Let fresh air come into your room. So with this, you'll be able to reduce a whole lot of bills on your utilities, your lights and all. So I also have a representation of this here. There are a lot of them. Maximizing daylight ventilation. You can see the position of these plants. There is a psychology behind the position of these plants here. The use of LED lights instead of bulb plants. Also, once you notice your tap is leaking, you can just easily call a plumber to do that. By that, you are reducing the amount of water that you are using. So that's also a very small thing that we can do differently in terms of sustainable living. Reduce heat gain naturally. We've talked about that. We've talked about waste management. We've talked about, okay, we can use energy efficient appliances. There are energy efficient ACs, there are energy efficient freezers and all. So we can also incorporate that into our living spaces. So bonus habits: unplug chargers when not in use, air dry clothes when possible. It's not every time that you just have to spin your clothes and air. As much as possible, let them dry naturally. Another thing is choose sustainable brands. Stay informed and inspire others. This is very important. As you have heard this message, freely are you given, and freely you shall give to others. All right. Thank you very much. So, summarily, save energy, save water, reduce waste, live better, and protect our planet. It's our home. We just have to do better about this. So, the closing quote: future real estate value will not only be determined by location and aesthetics, but by resilience, efficiency, livability, and environmental responsibility, which is in the hands of you and I. Thank you very much.